here he goes. Go. Good?
That's a big fish.
Full hand on tail. Yeah, it looks sick. Good deal.
Look how broad that thing is.
I wonder if that was one that followed me in.
Beautiful.
Oh my.
That's a big
That's a
fish.
big fish, dude.
Limp.
That's what I've been waiting for all day.
That's over 6.
Felt that bite.
Damn, I think low and slow is the way to go, eh, baby?
First big of the year on.
The thing I'm about to tie on.
Get him, get him.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Calm down. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here.
Yeah, dude!
Dude.
Pounds 11 ounces.
Oh my god, please get the net. Please, 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 please get the net.
I got you, buddy. Oh my god. I got you.
That was the weirdest bite ever. Oop. That was a good one? Yep.
Sure, feels like it.
Sure is.
I can't turn her head, bud. Holy shit. What the? Is that another 6?
Could be.
The second giant of the day, proving that point. Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! Big baits, big fish. There we go, 5 pounds, 6 ounces. Beauty! Let's go. Got him! Get in here, you. There's another 6. You! That's a big fish.
6'10". Woo-hoo-hoo. A little fatty.
Oh my god, if I can land this fish. Holy sh! 5.06. Sick. Oh my god! Oh my god! Holy sh! God. What a beast. Dude, that's it, that's it. I'm 4 pounds smaller. I need a picture. Sorry.
Oh wow. That might be a 4. That might be a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4. You gonna show that off too? 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Holy. Trailers, what's getting it done. Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, that's unbelievable. That's a 4.
He's still swimming.
There we go. That's a big fish. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes! 414 though. Gee. Not too shabby.
How the hell is it going, everybody? See, I like doing that weird thing now where I have 2 different things in my head and I say a combination of both because I'm an idiot. How's everybody doing on this fine Wednesday evening post 4th of July celebrations? Hope everybody had a freaking great weekend. I know I sure as hell did. Andrew did. Everybody did that I talked to, all my friends. So it was good. 2 things. First and foremost, Andrew's not here. Andrew's taking a break. Simple as that. He's got a lot going on between work and just everything else, so he's just taking a break. And he'll be back eventually. No idea when. I told him no pressure, no time frame on it. He still is and wants to be part of everything, so he will. Just, he's taking a break. That's it. Second to that, I've been thinking about the intro a lot, and I'm wondering, should I ditch it? Like, not entirely, right? Like, I would still like to have some sort of a kind of countdown, because the stream goes live, notifications goes out to people that, you know, typically would watch it, but they don't always get here, like, right on time. So, like, I try to create a buffer, but I wonder if I've got too much of a buffer. So I am wondering, maybe I have the intro redone and just make it something like 60 seconds or less. I don't know. I would like feedback, thoughts, and opinions on that matter. Just something that's kind of kicking around the back of my head. Always thinking about things like that. But aside from that, I had a hell of a freaking weekend fishing, that's for sure. A little wet, just a smidge, but it was a damn good fluffer. God damn it, Anthony. But anyway, it was a damn good weekend of fishing, and that's really what drove tonight's topic that I wanted to bring up. And I want a lot of engagement out of the chat on this one tonight, because I want questions and thoughts and opinions on the whole matter as I go through this. But I really want to talk about that early summer fishing patterns, techniques, locations, like the whole 9 yards, because we are definitely into it. Like, we went from this weird prolonged, like, pre-spawn, but not ideal pre-spawn, to like really, really short window of pre-spawn to the fastest damn spawn I've ever seen, but also the longest. Because, like, the bulk of it happened in the blink of an eye, but then there were stragglers that just kept hanging around forever and way bigger fish way later than I ever imagined. And we went, like, right into this early summer pattern where everything starts getting offshore, the whole 9 yards. So what we saw this weekend was the beginning of that early summer into summer pattern. And everything I'm going to talk about tonight is not only applicable for, like, the next week or two, but honestly, a lot of that, there's a lot of overlap between that and, like, all the way through into deep summer. Although very specifically when we're talking about largemouth. For smallmouth, different matter, but we'll cover that a little bit too. But turning my attention back to the chat, I see a whole ton of people in here, and I appreciate you guys being back after a little short break here. Oh my God. Midwest Fisherman, Z20, Gordy, Kevin, Jason, Mike, Danny, Scott. Oh boy, Northeast, Alec, Matt, Caston North, Dave, Angler's Back. Oh my God. There's everybody. David, Dave, MD. Man, it's amazing. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you. All right, and then looking at, let's see. I saw you like it, shorten it. I like the long intro. It's badass. How long is the intro now? It's like 3.5 minutes, roughly. Almost 4 minutes, actually, now that I think about it. Because like a 20-second countdown, then about a 3.5-minute song is what I picked. So round up, call it 4 minutes. And hey, thanks, Dave. Appreciate you. We had a pretty damn good weekend, that's for sure. Shorten it slightly, maybe brought to you by like the old TNN shows. Yeah, I vote for shorter. Okay. The bulk of what I'm seeing is shorter. I'm not going to go for like a 30-second. I'm thinking something like maybe like a 60-second thing. And that thing's, your intro gives me time to make coffee, and there's that. You're supposed to be come to these things prepared, Scott. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But, all right, I'll give that some thought. I'll figure out what to do with that. I'm almost wondering if I just like have something like semi-professional made. I kind of like that idea. I don't know. We'll get there. One other thing I wanted to talk about was Spotify. If you guys, like, I know I've heard from a lot of people that are like, hey, love Spotify. It makes it easier because I can't always catch the lives. And there's a lot of people that, you know, comment either through Instagram or other videos. They're like, dude, I would love to be able to listen to this on Spotify. We are entirely caught up on Spotify. So as of today, this is the only show that is not on there yet. And now we are back to a regularly scheduled schedule on Spotify uploads. So I'm going to do my best to edit this show like Wednesday, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to upload it on Thursday, because that might be pushing it, and I want to stay consistent with this moving forward, or Friday or Saturday morning, but I'm kind of leaning towards Friday morning, but I don't know. We'll see. There's quite a few options. Like, I can definitely do Friday. It doesn't take a whole ton of editing to make it Spotify ready. There's basically like a lot of that kind of like intro talk and specific talk to the stream chat that I try and cut out, so it's a much more seamless conversation. It's I don't know, probably like an hour and a half episode takes me 20 to 30 minutes total to dress it up, do a little intro for it, little soft break between like, hey, this is what we're talking about, and then like the actual show, and then cutting up the show, like cutting up any long gaps in conversation or a lot of ums and uhs, and just trying to make the conversation more seamless. It's kind of where we're at, but I'm all caught up. So for anybody that is interested, you search for Reel Nothern Bass Talk on Spotify. That's where it is. And you can listen to us on the go from now on, which is great. Northeast. I love the fishing clips, although I have no idea where those fish were caught. You liar. Can they send them back to the address on the recent purchase from you? What are you asking for? What do you want to send back there, MD? So let's give it... Nah, you know what? We can probably get started here in a second. So again, thank you for everybody that just bared with us for the 2 weeks that we were off. I didn't want to do this without Andrew, but we talked the other day, and he was like, just keep going. So I was like, all right, I'll keep going with it for the time being, and just come back when you're ready, because I didn't want to just go forward without him and his blessings. So here we are. And we're going to talk about some early summer fishing, but I do see, okay, MD, messing with the algorithm now in 2 places. Exactly. MD, what did you say? A bit shorter would be good. How much further? Oh, you're all the way to the top? I only see 2 comments from you. Well, 3 now, technically. Bitch. You gotta help me out here, buddy. I don't see what it is you're talking about. I'm sorry. Wait, one comment. Where those fish were caught. Oh, okay. I got you. Mike Bradley, ever had a smallie jump in your boat happening Monday morning? I actually have had that happen. Like, as I was trying to kind of turn him, he turned and jumped and friggin' flat out launched himself from 5 feet away and landed on the back deck. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Actually, it was during a tournament with Andrew, and Andrew was on the back deck, so it landed like right up on the friggin' back of the boat with his feet. I'm pretty sure I have that video on the channel still. Anyway, I digress. Just put some of his drawings up while he's not there. The masses deserve to see his greatness. I like it. Okay, we're done. All right, let's get on to the show. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. Let's talk about some early summer bass fishing. At this point, this is going to be probably a little bit faster paced because it's a little bit less back and forth because it's just me. But I'm going to definitely engage with the chat. And at this point, I'm going to elaborate further for those listening at Spotify. Obviously, we do this live every single Wednesday night on our channel, youtube.com/@ReelNothernBass, and we talk about pretty much everything, but it goes live and we engage a lot with the chat. So a lot of these questions are going to come from them. We're going to elaborate from there as they come in, but I'm going to talk about myself a little bit. Early summer bass fishing. Get off the bank. It's not always that cut and dry, but I will tell you, this weekend we caught 136 fish. Saturday we went out, we beat the hell out of the bank and nothing. And then we were like, okay, well, it's a pond that I've been fishing for literally 30 years, since I was 8 years old. And at this point, I know it like the back of my hand. And so does Andrew. So we were both like, well, if they're not there, then they're here. We went offshore. We got into the vegetation. So a lot of that pond cabbage and whatever little bit of milfoils left over at this place that they nuked last year. And we started working around there. And now the benefit of active target is that even though we weren't catching them yet, I could at least see them. So that was like the first, okay, yep, they're definitively here. And that definitely made it easier to get into the fish. So early summer bass fishing at this point, where like they're definitively post-spawn and now they're into much different moods, they're moving around a lot, is kind of a twofold problem that you need to solve. One is exactly where are they? Because they could be anywhere out from like way the heck off the bank to on the bank in the shallowest, gnarliest stuff you've ever seen. And then secondary to that is what the hell do they want to eat? And a lot of those presentations have overlap, right? Like whether it's obviously you could boil it down to as simple as they want to eat in the middle of the water column, they want to eat on top, they want to eat off the bottom. But it's not always that simple to understand what it is that they want to eat off the bottom. And there's always kind of a transition period where right up through, I mean, essentially from ice out till probably like 2 or 3 weeks after the spawn is done, when, you go through that window of awkwardness without really doing anything, where like something like a jig, right? Bigger profile, it's got a skirt to give it volume, is the go-to thing. It just works. And then that bite just dies. And I can't explain it. And honestly, a lot of it could just be because of the areas I'm fishing. But there will be a window where I know they've definitively moved into that early summer pattern. And for the life of me, I can't get bit on a jig either at all or nearly as efficiently and consistently as I have leading up to that point for months now. And that's where I go to similar but definitively different styles for whatever kind of fishing I'm doing. So specific to bottom contact, Texas rig all of a sudden becomes like the thing to throw at them at this time of the year. No skirt. You're just basing it entirely on profile and fall rate is the two things that become like the most important things at this point. And so that's kind of where my head goes in that direction as I continue to elaborate on this early summer fishing. But to reiterate the most important point, it comes down to like exactly where have they moved to and how much of that profile and speed that you're throwing it, so fall rate or your cadence, have shifted. And once there's that kind of like hard shift, not dramatic, but definitely a hard, again, like something skirted with volume to something similar style and profile, but without the volume, the bulk, like that to me is a pretty dramatic shift, but not like a complete flip on its head. So how the hell do you even start figuring that out? Well, if you go out every weekend, you can start to see that pattern, because leading up pre-spawn and stuff, they're all up shallow, right? And then spawn, obviously, they're shallow to kind of deep. And then post-spawn, they're kind of feeding a little bit everywhere. And then you will hit this window where everybody and especially in kettle ponds, definitively moves out. And they're gone. You cannot find them on the bank. And the moment you hit that first weekend, you're like, damn, this bite was fire last weekend. I can't buy a bite to save my life, but you haven't moved more than 100 feet off the bank. That, to me, is the beginning of that early summer transition, that early summer pattern. And everything I'm going to talk about from this point forward, again, you can take that into the summer. And that will carry you for a ways, because a lot of what you're going to find at this point is going to start to relate a lot more to like vegetation. Not to say that hard structured areas aren't still phenomenal, but the vegetation at this point has really grown and bloomed, and it's going to continue to grow and bloom the deeper we go, the further into summer we get, pending that we still have ideal conditions, like with the plethora of freaking rain that we've had recently. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. I'll continue to elaborate. Turning it back really quick to the chat, I saw Brian. Thank you for the FXR code. Hooked up myself up and my dad for Father's Day. We got caught in the rain on Lake George and we stayed high and dry. That is awesome. I'm glad to hear it, and thank you very much for using it, Brian. I got to say, there was only one point where I got a little wet, and that was by the 6th hour on Sunday. I fished out there. It rained for a little over 7 of the 8 hours I fished, and there was only 2 like 20 to 30-ish minute windows. God, one was right around like 1:30-ish, and then one was right around 3 to 3:30, somewhere in that window when I finally got off the water. And that's why I decided to get off, because it was finally not raining, and my hands were destroyed. I caught so many fish over that friggin' weekend, which is a good thing. But it wasn't until like the very, very tail end of that, after sitting through 2 insane downpours, and then the rest of the day was just a constant rain. Not drizzle, but a steady rain. And at that point, I was starting to get a little wet, like around the edges of everything. So aside from that, though, I stayed dry. Andrew and I went out yesterday. We stood out there in torrential downpours for like 45 minutes, and we were still bone dry when we came out of it. So that FXR Tri-Laminate Pro V gear is phenomenal. Worth its weight in gold. All our stuff at this point now is a year old, so it's like been used thoroughly. And a lot of rain this year, because it's rained on tons of Sundays. Still performs flawlessly. A large part of that comes from actually taking care of the gear too. So keep that in mind. You actually have to get like the proper detergent and keep your gear clean, and that way it performs right. It stays dry and it stays breathable. Keep that in mind. If anybody's interested, they want the code for FXR, reach out to us in any way, shape, or form. I can't tell you what the exact code is or what the discount code is per our contract, but I can promise you it's steep. And everybody that I've sent the message to, the exact same response has been, holy bleep, because it's stupid. It is really just stupid how good that discount code is. And that's the code we get to share. So if you're in the market for either any summer gear, like these things, which have been saving my life in this friggin' heat and humidity when it's not raining, and then the rain gear when it has been raining, I promise you, it's worth its weight in gold. That stuff is phenomenal. I love the gear. Plus, it looks good. I just like the looks of it overall. It's not too flashy, but not super plain like some other companies. There you go. Reach out to me in any way, shape, or form. What did Alex say? Discount code is the best I've ever seen. He ain't joking. I'm going to leave that there for a little bit because he did use it. What did Mark say? I took the cover off the boat today to let it dry out. The rain the last few days has been ridiculous. Yeah, my boat, I just remembered, is still sitting completely. I just got a text from a friend. I'm going to need that code. I should probably text that to him while I'm talking. That way, if he wants to order, he can order it right now while I'm doing this. Talk about multitasking. But I actually had to have my kid open up the boat for me while I was at work because I forgot to do it before I left. And my boat is drenched. But I fished in pouring rain. Yeah, two days out of the whole weekend. That thing's never going to dry. But we'll eventually get there. It was nice today, nice and sunny, so everything's going to dry out. And hopefully tomorrow, I believe, it's still supposed to be nice and sunny and dry, so I can empty it and let everything really breathe and dry out, because your boats need to do that or they stink. They stink real bad. That doesn't come out of the carpets very easily. And I just got a question through chat. What's the best stuff? Tri-laminate. Here, you know what? Let me... Really quick, I'm going to do that. Pro Fish. Yeah. Discount codes do not stack. Just an FYI, all right? Want everybody to know that. The Vapor Pro Tri-Laminate is hands down their best. It is pricey. However, I will tell you that with the discount code that we have, significantly decreased. I mean, significant. I'm not joking. When the last time we talked about this, we both said like the discount code we have to share is like insanely better than what a lot of pro staff people get. I don't know how else to put it in perspective without breaking my contract. I'm trying to be descriptive. There's that. All right, back on topic. So if you guys are interested in the rain gear, I'll throw this up in the chat. You can take a gander at it. And again, at any point you want, reach out. I'll throw you the code. Back to the chat really quick. Oops. Finally made it to my first live stream of yours. Always watch the next day. Dude, that's awesome. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you're able to make it. Brian, I treated mine with the FXR Hydrox coating, and the code is ridiculous. Dave, I'm going to leave that one up for a little bit too. This is one thing I haven't used the coating, like to treat it with it. I've just used the stuff to wash it, which is technically like treating it. So there's that. Oh, Matt, I can't find fish for the life of me in the kayak. I only caught 2 on Long Pond Rutland Monday. Eesh. Sorry, man. Well, hopefully I can share something that will help you. So, reiterating everything I said in less than 30 seconds. Well, early summer bass fishing, what does it mean? And like, when does it happen? And to me, that's that transition where they've gone from that definitive, we're up shallow feasting bite from that pre-spawn into spawn and post-spawn. And then there's a semi-dramatic shift to where that consistency has disappeared. And they've all made hard shifts. And a lot of that is going to be based on weather patterns because a lot of them are going to push out, but depending upon like rain or whatever else is happening, they're going to push way the hell back up. Just never know. But there's going to be that dramatic shift, and it's going to happen seemingly overnight. So that to me is that early summer bass fishing kind of transitional period, or that time of the period where it starts, where that first dramatic shift happens. As far as areas and patterns, unfortunately, there's no real clear answer on this unless you're looking at information on a very well-known lake that has a lot of information public, and I guess just posted in other areas. Squam Lake in New Hampshire, right? Everybody knows Squam Lake. It's a huge lake. If you look on Navionics, they will actually tell you where there's submerged vegetation, right? So that's what I mean by trying to find like that level of detail, because it's things like that that are extremely important. And being able to understand where that stuff is, either A, you have to find a lake that has that information either posted some way, shape, and form or line, or B, the tried and true way, time in the water. And it's like times like this where I actually find it's easier to go back to ponds that I'm already very familiar with right about now, right? That transition, right? This is a time I usually stick a lot closer to home in my fishing endeavors to understand when that transition happens. So when I go to these bigger bodies of water, I have already got an idea as to what's happened and should be happening. And that makes it easier for me to at least start targeting depths. So if you're looking for specific areas, and again, where that time in the water really helps out, if you're looking at a typical kettle pond in New Hampshire, anywhere in the northeast, right? It's got a mix of everything. It's got rocks. It's got all different kinds of vegetation. It's got huge areas of just deadness where there is nothing. Timber. It may have an inlet and an outlet. Might be a little dam at the end of the outlet. That's kind of a typical kettle pond / mini reservoir. And places like that are going to have, again, a bit of everything. So if you're talking about initial areas to look, the first places that I'm going to look in a smaller body of water like that, and honestly, even bigger body of water, I'm going to shift out to like 3 to 4 feet deeper than anything else I'm looking at. When I'm looking at a smaller body of water, max depth to say 15 to 20 feet. And if I'm looking at a place that's a lot bigger and there's a lot more deeper water, I'm going to shift out probably like another 10 feet deeper, 10 to 15 feet. And they're going to make kind of that shift like right away from up shallow to that mid-range of whatever the average depth is of that body of water before they're going to move out towards that deeper summer bite. And that transition area kind of covers everything, right? They're in there in the pre-spawn. They're in there in the immediate post-spawn. They're going to move in and out of it all damn summer long as the heat's there. It all depends on what you have for forage in that body of water. If it's a lake that's primarily dominated by yellow perch and primarily dominated by smelt and alewives, maybe a different story, right? Because as it gets a lot harder, those fish don't tend to want to get up as shallow that often. They tend to roam out a little bit deeper. All the fish are going to follow. If you got a place that has a lot of brim, kibbies, sunfish, Like they're all the same thing, right? Things like that. And yellow perch can kind of be anywhere. Same sunfish, but a lot of those fish are still like, you can still find tons of those shallow and in that mid depth range, and they're going to use whatever cover they can find, which typically in the early summer into the summer tends to be vegetation more often than not, especially when a lot of that is prevalent, right? Not only does it provide a huge area of structure and cover for them to hide behind, but it also provides, you know, better oxygenated water. So there's that to keep in mind. Wait, Andrew's here. Andrew, whoops, just copy paste. Which northeast? Yes, they do. Oh, hey, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you, buddy. I was wondering if you're gonna pop in here. So that's one way to think about it, is moving into like vegetation, moving slightly offshore, or just in general, like if you can get down into that, like any structure, you might have ponds like down, oh God, Cape Cod. This is a totally different animal. I'm not really sure I'm ready to talk about a place like that, but I would still move down into like that kind of mid-depth range, and that's where I'm going to put my primary focus. How the hell do you even tell if they're there? Especially if you don't have electronics. If you don't have electronics, then you just God. Probably selling real estate. God damn it, MD. If you don't have electronics, then you just got to fish your way through it. But the easiest way to do that is if you, I would go to the body of water that you know the best in that sense, or at least the one that you've had the most success at most recently, right? And especially a place that you were hammering up shallow. And go to one of your best spots on a body of water like that, where you have really good spots up shallow, or just, you know, great success at this time of year up shallow. If you can't get something there, then you know that you should make like a 100-foot shift, or however far it is you need to be to get that 5, 10, 15 feet deeper, and start working that area. If you have electronics of any kind, even just traditional 2D sonar, just zipping around in your trolling motor, like zigzagging towards the shore, back out, towards the shore, back out, and finding that vegetation. And it doesn't have to be much. I'm going to reiterate that because it's incredibly important. There does not have to be a lot of vegetation. I can tell you that some of our best spots that we fished this weekend in ponds that are friggin' loaded to the gills with vegetation in some spots. I mean, stuff that most bass anglers would just drool over because it looks so prime, right? Not even anywhere near it, because it was a little bit too shallow and it was really, really dense. The moment you moved down a little bit further, we got into areas that, you know, it was stuff that was, hand up a little higher, maybe that high for the most part. And every once in a while, you this little, like, we'll say about 10 to 14 inches roughly, somewhere in that window. You know, it's all sporadic. Some it's a little shorter, some it's a little taller. And then you get a random patch that's, you know, like no bigger than your coffee table that you would have at home, where you get one little patch it's kind of a little mini mountain peak, right? It's just a little bit taller than the rest. And while that is ideal because it's a little bit different than everything else, they weren't necessarily in that. They just happen to be down a little bit deeper in that just lighter vegetation. Even something like that can be hugely important. You come off nice hard packed bottom surface up shallow, whether it's rocks or just sand, dirt, whatever, and you come down to that slightly softer vegetation. It's all in that transition area in the mid depth of whatever you're fishing for a body of water. That was key. And that's really, really consistent for us every single year, where they kind of move into that. Then if you've got areas where, say, perfect spawn flats, you know of a stretch of shoreline that's got just dozens, if not hundreds of beds every single spring, and it tanks right off the end of that, but there's a lot of vegetation out there, and like, that's good. It's immediately adjacent to a spawn area. That in and of itself is another key area to focus in on. It could have almost nothing for like that shallow vegetation and nothing but, say, like just giant clumps of stuff. Like pond cabbage is a great example, right? You tend to get either like long stretches, like lines of it, or you just get like this, you know, big 20-foot patch of it, and then a big gap of nothing, another big 15, 30-foot patch of it. Things like that can also be really, really good to focus in on. That is all specific to largemouth at this point. If you want to talk about smallmouth, amplify everything by like 2 to 3x. Because, you know, typically if I'm going to talk about smallmouth from that perspective, we're going to talk about bigger, deeper bodies of water, your glacial lakes, reservoirs, things like that. And same deal. If you want to look for areas, either you need to find like those high traffic areas for all the bait fish, because the smallmouth are going to go right forward there. Like anything else, they're in recovery mode, right? They need to eat and feast, and they need to get that weight and energy and everything back up and recover. So anything just adjacent to spawn flats is a great area to key in on. And if you can find something that's got like a nice rolling taper down to that deeper water, I actually find that to be better at this time of the year on this side of the spawn than areas that have really, really steep transitions from shallow to deep. You can find stuff that is much more mellow as it rolls out, and it gives them a larger area to cover at very specific depths. And especially if you find that adjacent to like prime spawn areas, that's another really awesome area to focus in on. And for smallmouth, vegetation's kind of out the window, depending. You know, like if you're talking about a typical glacial lake, there really isn't that much vegetation for the most part anyway. So that's when I key in on areas that I know have a transition from sand to rock and back and forth, where you go from like that riprap fist size to like bowling ball size rocks to just straight sand and back and forth. Or if you can find areas where you have a nice clean sand line and all of a sudden you have a really, really defined line of where it's sand to like dark, where it's that soft kind of mucky crap at the bottom, they'll run near that. And then every once in a while, if you can find like even like a really nice point, submerged point, right? Even if it drops off really steep off one side, but it's kind of long, sweeping, and bulbous, for lack of a better way to put it, at least on the sides, up towards the shallows, that's going to provide those like more mellow transition points as it goes a little bit deeper. Areas like that, where you kind of have stark contrasts, but not sharp contrasts in depth contours. That's where I like to find smallmouth in that early summer transition. They will move deeper a lot faster, especially like right now when we get these crazy heat waves. At least more often than not. It is not like an end-all be-all rule of thumb, though. It's just a general rule of thumb, so keep that in mind. That's kind of, in a nutshell, like areas and patterns, but I want to come back to the chat, so at any point in any of my rambling you had questions, now's the time to ask them. And really quick, while I'm thinking about this, for those that have already done it, thank you very much. For those that haven't, you could please drop a like on the stream. Would also greatly appreciate that. So looking back at the chat, I did see Andrew. Love you all. I'm going to leave that one up there. Where is he? There you go. Love you too, buddy. So, all right, Mark. Yeah, thank you for checking it out. Let me know, buddy. I mean, you got me a messenger. If you need the code, hit me up. I will send it to you. Jason. All right, I know I said to leave Andrew there, but I gotta be able to do this too. Jason did say bottom contact first. I will 110% agree with that. And until last weekend, this past weekend. I didn't even do a fishing report. Not important. We caught a bunch offshore. That's all you got to know. We'll elaborate further on baits like that. Bottom contact first and suspending. So that has, for years, been our 1-2 punch. Bottom contact for me, suspending jerkbait for Andrew. Recently, probably starting 2 weeks ago, actually. Yeah, because it was even before this weekend. It was the weekend before. Suspending jerkbait really came into play. And honestly, like, I know Andrew's always talked about it. And I was just like, yep, I know I got to do it. I got to get, like, I just got to get into a good groove. And I've been into a good groove with it, but we missed a window where him and I could have fished together where, like, that should have really been it. So I was out there alone 2 weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? I should try a jerkbait. And the reason it made me think about it, again, was I just watched a video of Polnick. And he was up on Champlain for that elite event that he won 2 years ago or last year. I can't remember now. And I was like, yeah, I should throw a jerkbait. And normally I wouldn't when it gets this warm. I reserve that for cold water. But I'm like, no, because I got an active target and know I can see him, so I should give it a shot, right? So I did. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I started putting in a ton of fish in the boat. I'm like, yep, okay, I got this. So now my go-to, one, and always will be number one, bottom contact. And it's going to be a jig and a Texas rig. Second to that, jerkbait. And then third to that, much as I don't like to do it when I'm fun fishing, Senko. I only like to do it fun fishing if I've already got a ton of fish in the boat and I've got a good hunch about an area that might have a giant. If I'm giant hunting, I'm going to throw absolutely everything I can. And a Senko is just part of that equation. I don't really like it. I just got this weird thing about it. But I'm still going to do it. And I would definitively say frog should be part of that plan, especially as you're trying to eliminate that shallow water bite. If you're trying to figure out, like, are they really shallow, are they out deeper? Or if you already found some really good vegetation that's a little bit deeper that comes up pretty close to the surface, like I would 110% throw a frog over the top of that. Or buzzbait, you do either one. But bottom contact, jerkbait, like those, that's my 1-2 punch that I'm throwing at this time of the year now without batting an eye. Limit! Happy 4th. Hope you stayed safe too. Guggen Slayer, hey buddy. What about small reservoir that full of hydrilla but only 8 foot max? If it's full, I'm going Texas rig. I'm going to go swim jig with a swim bait on the back. I'm going to go frog over the top. Like, those are going to be my 3 things that I go for. And actually, I would probably put this as number 2, a weightless Texas rig Senko or fluke. And I'm going to work it through all that like I'm working a jerkbait. Oh, twitch, twitch, twitch. Make sure it's slack line, because with a soft body bait like that with no weight on it, if I don't have like a lot of slack when I twitch it, it tends just to really kind of dart forward or shoot up out of the water. But if I got a lot of slack, so by the time like I'm at the end of my twitch, it just kind of gently tugs on it, then it really slashes and kind of dances all around like you would want, in my opinion, a jerkbait to act. So that's what I do with that. If you're throwing like just a Zoom fluke or Yamamoto, I forget what it's called, but their fluke, I like a 3 to a 4/0 extra wide gap heavy gauge hook. I have tried a 5/0. It's definitely bigger. It's kind of pushing the limit for like your standard size fluke. It pulls it down fast. So we found recently sometimes that's too fast for a hook that size. But like a 3/0 heavy gauge hook, like that can be really, really good on a fluke. So you just got to kind of play around with it a little bit. You can also do like a weighted Texas rig Senko or a fluke if you want. And you can either peg it or not. Sometimes I like to do the something like that. I like to throw like a 1/8 ounce bullet weight on that, but because I just want to pull it down really, really slow. You get like a weightless wacky hook, and you can Nico rig a Senko. So there's a bunch of different ways you can tackle that. But specific to that, I'm gonna go Texas rig number 1. Number 2 would be a weightless Texas rig fluke. And for Texas rig, like just real simple, like any craw, like striking rage craw, Beast Coast flipping delight with like a 3/8 ounce bullet weight, or flipping weight. That's gonna be my starting point, and usually a 3/0 or a 4/0 flipping hook. Again, the weightless T-rigged, and then swim bait or swim jig with a swim bait on the back, like a 4-inch or 3.5 inch. The Smack Snack from Crazy Hick Bait Company has actually been killing it for us. If you can find some areas where it's like a little bit more open inside of that vegetation, absolutely be throwing either spinnerbait or jackhammer. Spinnerbait you can actually get away with more often than not, even in like really heavy vegetation. It's usually like that soft kind of stringy linguini stuff that doesn't really play nice with bladed baits, bladed jigs, or spinner baits. It just tends to wrap around the blades. So that's why I like the swim jig with the swim bait combo the most. And then Strut Knot Custom Calls. I'll be honest, I'm a bank banger. Recently bought a side scan and down imaging. My goal is to get comfortable offshore. This seems like a good podcast for the subject. Yeah, dude, absolutely. Like, well, first off, thank you for that. And second, you're going to love it. The amount of things that you can find with side imaging is insane. And the best piece of advice I can give you with that when you're going out looking for this stuff, because vegetation doesn't always present itself in a way that's very clear to understand, unless you've done this like many, many times. Go find a rock pile that you already know of and side image that first. So you get like your baseline point, right? To know exactly like how that translates, and especially at what speeds that's going to translate at. I think it's 3 to 5 miles an hour is the ideal idle speed, or like kind of just motoring speed to get the most out of your side imaging. So call it an average. I usually do about 3.5 to 4 miles an hour. And that works for me. I don't really like to go too much faster, and I get a really, really good return on things, especially when I'm trying to look at like finer details inside, like on vegetation and maybe like pockets inside of it. Try to find those shadows, the whole 9 yards. Like, to me, that's kind of an ideal speed for that. But I highly recommend find a nice rock pile you already know of. Go over that. You get an idea for your baseline. Yep, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking at now. Then go drive around and play with it. I think it's going to help you a lot. What did Mark say? I'm basically a shallow water grass fisherman, strut nut, but fishing deeper water is fun too. I gotta tell you, fishing deeper water is becoming my favorite thing. That's for damn sure. Still going through this. Hellabass, hey friend, glad you could join us again. Frog is my 1-2 punch. You know what, man? I need to get more. I need to get my confidence back with a frog, and I know I'm not throwing it enough. And it's a friggin' killer thing to be doing this time of the year, and my confidence is just not there. That's one part of it. The other part of it is The only frogs that I have that I like are beat to death. Like there's no color left to them. You know, half the friggin' skirt for the legs are gone. I need to buy new frogs is what I need to do. I should probably order some tonight and I'll have them for Saturday to go fishing Sunday. That would be the smart thing to do. Dan, do you have any frogs in stock? Specifically the ones I want, Reaction Innovations? Dan at Ben's Tackle Shack. I'm sure he's got some that I could use. John, asking as I've really have zero clue on where to start. You can research and watch tons of videos, and everyone has their own opinion, just looking for a better direction. Okay, let me back it up to the other one. Your first question. Been trout fishing for years and now looking to get into bass fishing with my son. Is it best to run straight braid, fluorocarbon, or use a braid to fluoro leader? Straight one way or the other, straight braid or fluoro or mono, like, is entirely up to preference. I prefer straight fluorocarbon for everything except for topwater. And that's on all my casting setups. The reason for that, I know I'm losing bites. I know I'm missing bites. I'm not feeling bites on my deeper fishing endeavors because I don't have that benefit of braid to feel very subtle bites. But I'm kind of okay with that because I fish around a lot of rocks. And fluorocarbon has the best abrasion resistance properties out of all of them. So there's things like that to consider. What kind of fishing are you doing? And exactly around what for structure? If you're like a into the hard structure kind of angler, then you need fluorocarbon, whether it's straight fluorocarbon or 2A leader. For straight, like pure topwater applications, unless it's like a giant wake bait like my Monk from LFOD swimbaits, I can throw that on straight fluorocarbon, like on my glide bait rod basically, and it does fine. You know, it doesn't impact it whatsoever. Anything short of that, if it's meant to be on top, I throw braid. And I throw from anywhere from 30 pound to 80 pound. For like my bigger wake baits, like swim bait, you know, big stuff, for that, I throw 80 pound braid. And it's just, I like a much heavier, kind of thicker line on that because it's a lot more forgiving if you backlash. That's the other half the reason why I prefer straight fluorocarbon in a lot of applications, because I run my reels really, really loose, and Andrew can attest to that. Like, I fish my reels kind of stupid, but I can cast 150 to 200 feet without batting an eye with a 1/4 ounce Texas rig. You know, like 3/8 ounce jig. I can still get that 200 feet out. And if I screw up a little bit and I backlash, 95 times out of 100, I can save it and pick it all out and just reset and go. Braid, a lot less forgiving. If I backlash really hard like that, I'm not getting out. I got to cut it out. So there's trade-offs to that. That's just casting gear. Spinning gear, I strictly only fish braid to a fluorocarbon leader. And I pretty much, it's 10 pounds on my braid for all my super light stuff, so drop shot, Ned rigs, things like that. And for pretty much everything else, if I'm throwing like jigs, things like that, then I go 20 pound braid. And my leader freaking pound is all over the place. 8, 10, 12, 15. I've done 20 in some applications, even on a spinning rod. I just try to make sure. The thing I found is your fluorocarbon diameter can't be like exponentially bigger than your braid diameter. I found that out recently. It might not be as big of a deal on an FG knot, but I tie an Alberto knot. And I found that with some brands of braid, that diameter on it is so freaking thin that even with 10 pound fluorocarbon, it was like exponentially bigger, thicker on the fluorocarbon than it was on my braid. And I was just snapping it off on the cast. The moment I switched to something that was like 10 pounds heavier on the braid and I got a lot closer, like 1-to-1 on diameter on the lines, stopped breaking off. It was literally just that. And I even had my friend Dennis tie a leader knot for me on one of my rods because he thought he was like, are you sure you're not doing something wrong? I'm like, honestly, I don't think I am, but let's rule it out. And he tied it. I cast, second cast snapped off. He's like, yeah, no, you're right. It's your line. So things like that to consider. Spinning rods, I always go braid to leader on every single one. Kevin Watton, Senkos make great weedless jerkbaits. I mostly agree. They are phenomenal for that, but I do prefer to run with a fluke if I want to work it more like a jerkbait. Weightless Texas rig Senko just kind of glides through all that cover really, really nicely and almost has like that kind of back and forth sachet action to it as it kind of slides in and out of all the freaking, all the vegetation and everything. grab a Senko style bait and a 3/0 wide gap hook, Texas rig, and just chuck it, pop, let fall, repeat. Yep, MD, I'm with you right there. And, oh, Bo Potato, Champlain Frog Bite is on. Okay, I'll be there Sunday. I can't yet. Have you guys ever thrown the hover rig yet? If not, you should definitely try it. No, hover rig is slightly different from a Damiki rig, which is also called mopping or moping. I forget what Canadians call it. I have not tried it yet. I need to. Angler Zach, got a tournament on a similar sounding place on Saturday. Going to lean heavy on my chatterbait. Dude, we cracked them on the chatterbait yesterday. And I was pissed at myself because I had a naked 3/8 ounce jackhammer. I cut the skirt off of it, and I paired it with a JG's Dirty Perch Miyagi from Beast Coast Fishing. And I started wailing on him. I think I had 10, excuse me, in really short order before it tore off, and I realized that I forgot them at home. I didn't bring that case of swim baits, and I was so mad. But it was fine because I just picked up another 3/8 ounce. I can't remember what the exact color is for the jackhammer, but it's a green pumpkin with orange. And I tied that on. I threw on a green pumpkin smack snack from Crazy Hick Bait Company and proceeded to wax them on that. Andrew was throwing the exact same jackhammer, but he was throwing the what color was that? The pumpkin gill the pumpkin gill on the Blade Runner from Beast Coast Fishing. And he was waxing right beside me. Like trailer kind of didn't seem to matter to an extent. I think it was just the overall color combination, the overall weight, and just getting in the right areas. And oh my God, dude, we already had a phenomenal day before the rain moved in, and had we left at that point, like, would have been great. But we went back out actually while it was still thundering and lightning because we're dumb. And literally first cast on me, and I think it was second cast on Andrew with jackhammers. We both cracked one. We're like, yeah, no, we're staying out here. And we more than doubled our catch count at that point. So, yes, you should be throwing a jackhammer or bladed jig or something right now. Matt, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you. Casting north, 1 to 3 miles an hour in the kayak side, and everything works. Great, nice, that's good. Power worm or cutter over the grass. Ooh, I don't know. I can't answer that. Alec just bought some frogs at Ben's today, and then I made a pit stop at Treehouse. It was a good afternoon. I'm on keto, so I can't do any of that. And actually, on that topic, I just completed my 4th day of 24-hour fast out of the last 5 days, and I feel phenomenal. I don't regret anything. I feel friggin' great, and the weight's coming off, so I'm happy. But I can promise you right now, the moment I'm done keto and I get down to my happy weight, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Treehouse, and I'm going to go find me the best damn sushi restaurant that I can get to, and I'm going to gorge myself for one day, and then I'll go back to eating healthy again. All right, still looking through the chat. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything before I go on to my next point about everything. Mike, I've been killing it on topwater. Call my biggest bass on topwater this year. Dude, I cannot buy a bite on topwater this year, and it's infuriating. I need to stick with it more, but I know that's part of the problem again, but I can't get a bite on topwater. I don't know what it is. And part of the problem, too, is that, like, we haven't really been struggling at all. It hasn't been easy for basically every day except for this past weekend. But, like, it's just, we're constantly on our toes. Oh, Andrew, I saw that. You're coming to get sushi meat. Goddamn right you are. You know where we're going? Soul Kitchen down in friggin' Westford. That's where we're going. But, at any rate, like, there has been almost no consistent, like, they were hitting this last Sunday. Oh, look at that. They're hitting this again this Sunday. Something has changed every single time. So, when I do finally land on something that's working, and topwater has been part of that equation for trying to sort them out, I end up just kind of sticking with that and making, like, minor changes here and there to see if it produces a slightly better result. So there's that. Sorry, too much talking, not enough fluids. That's just really where I got my ice cube. Having Andrew here helps. Just having anybody helps. So I don't have to do all the talking the whole time. There we go. Anglers, Dan from Ben's in the chat, wondering how the expansion's going and planning on stopping by tomorrow. I did not see Dan in here yet. He usually pops in, but I know the expansion's looking phenomenal. I think if they're not done, they're pretty damn close. Oh, Kevin, thanks for joining, man. Footy fan. Evening, bud. Any thoughts on doing a reading electronics masterclass? Yes. Yes, absolutely. That is actually, I have done. So I can do that in New Hampshire. I can take people out on basically lessons for electronics. And I've done that 3 times now. So if anybody's interested, we can arrange that if anybody wants like a true one-on-one thing. And I'll even come out in your boat and we can play around the settings and everything. You drive, do the trolling motor, the whole 9 yards, and I will help you interpret that. But I know I have done, I'm trying to think. I actually haven't done one too recently, but I do have a video up on the channel. It was something like finding smallmouth in the fall on glacial lakes, something to that effect. That video actually did pretty good. And it's something that I want to do again. So actually, maybe we do that. And then what I would like to do is to get someone like Steve from Bass Fish Electronics back on to talk about electronics again. Not only like everything he's got going on in his shop, and especially now Andrew's working there, but just to have that deeper dive into electronics again and kind of talk about things like that, how you can get the most out of it, what's good at what isn't, pros, cons, whole 9 yards. And Dan is in the chat now. Hey, Dan, who was just asking? Angler Zach. Dan is here, so you can ask the question. He'll answer. Going back through. Lot of comments. This is great. Thank you, guys. Keep it up. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah, Kevin. Crushed a bunch on a whopper plopper till I got hooked by it. That sucks, man. I saw that. I was like, oh, that hurts. My old man used to say vodka was keto. So was rum and Coke Zero. It is friendly to my keto diet, I can tell you that. Is sushi bad for you? I'm not even answering fishing related questions. I'm talking about food. No, but it's bad for keto because the rice and like all the sauces, like with kind of some sugaries and stuff. That I can't do right now. Unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Look through Matt. Stopped by Ben's a couple days ago when the expansion's there, but it didn't have any stock or anything, just one rack. Okay, so they're close then. All right, so we talked about areas. Area 850. Let me. Wait. I see this comment before I go further. I do want to answer this. This is a good one. Do you leave certain baits at home to force you to use something different? Someone told me 90% of fish live in 10% of the water, need to just not even look at docks, lol. That is an excellent question. No, I do not leave anything at home. Rarely. I will say, for like plain old 3700s, I have 3 that are still in my house. They're right beside me. But I think I have like 20 of them. So all the rest are in the boat with me. I'm carrying altogether too much stuff. The only reason these 3 aren't with me, one is my old jerkbait box, which I deeply regretted not having yesterday. The other one is my lipless and deep divers. I'm just not really into fishing either one of those right now. Deep divers, yeah, but there's only a couple in there. I have another case with like the vast majority of my deep divers. Those are ancient crankbaits. And then the other one is blade baits, which I'm not going to throw until this winter. So I take everything with me. However, I try to find a middle ground with that where I've always tried to find a middle ground where it's like, I think it's going to be these. And I tend, like, if I'll have 10 rods out, I'll put the ones I think, like, it's going to be it, like the 4 primaries, all on the inside, right? Nearest my feet, first to grab. Then I'll have, like, if not this, then that setups behind that. What I have been trying to do the last couple of trips, and Andrew and I were just talking about this yesterday, is I'm trying to be more efficient and effective with a couple of key things. So I'm essentially trying to fish like I left stuff at home, but I'm not screwing myself by leaving stuff at home because I am comfortable fishing literally anything at this point. There's nothing that I own that I don't feel 100% confident in being able to catch a lot of fish on it. So while yes, I want something to happen and I may still want to improve on another thing, I'm never going to hamstring myself to that point where it's like, well, miscalculated there. Now I can't do anything because I left all the rest of that crap at home. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to carry everything that I am like 100% sure is going to work. If that doesn't work, then it's probably going to come to this. And in a nightmare scenario, we might have to fall back to this. And that kind of stuff I always carry with me, and I almost never touch it. So we've got it pretty dialed in. Now, I think that is a good idea. If there's something that you specifically want to learn, then you should do that. But I care more about figuring out the bite than I am concerned with trying to get better at one thing specifically. I try and make the two work together because it's just more fun for me that way. And, at this point, that's worked out well for me. So I try not to leave anything at home. I like to take it all with me. Hide comments. Wait, where... Oh, Jerry. Hey, buddy. I got your messages. I haven't had a chance to even friggin' read through them yet. I apologize. I'm going to get caught up with you very, very shortly here. And I'm going to talk to you about iCast because some aspect of my travel plans changed as of this afternoon, which is... It is what it is. Look at that. Oh, here you go. Go Fish Dan. Damn. We should have that room at Ben's ready to go in a couple weeks. And I just ordered thousands of dollars worth of Beast Coast jigs and everything they make. Look no further. Ben's Tackle Shack is going to have everything you can possibly need for Beast Coast fishing, which is phenomenal because that's all they fish. This is great. Oh, hella bass. See you, buddy. Dakota battery is the best hands down. Now, I don't remember who said it. I have, no dog in any race, whatever the phrase is. When it comes to batteries, I happen to use Duracell AGMs because they're really cheap at Sam's Club or BJ's. I forget which place has them. And, they're phenomenal. I'm running on my 5th year with them, and they're still going freaking strong. Really, really good cost. I don't know. And they're huge. The amount of amp hours out of them is freaking better than pretty much anything else that's not lithium. So I have been beyond happy with those. When it comes time to do lithiums, I don't care what brand it is, as long as the value is accurate or good, however you want to put it, and it has the internal heaters. I don't want to have to get separate battery wraps to keep the batteries heated throughout the winter as I'm fishing. So I know Battleborn has that, where it's got a heating element inside of the battery itself, and you basically hot wire it from your positive terminal into this other little terminal, and bada bing, bada boom. It keeps the battery at least 32 degrees or warmer. It's probably a little warmer than that. But it's funny that I see this because it was that random stream we did when we were up on Champlain back in May, and someone got really upset because I said I didn't want to spend the money on lithium, and he called me an asshat, and he told me to get off my high horse because I didn't know what I was talking about. And that was just a real head scratcher. And he specifically pointed out that Dakota batteries were where it's at. And I'm like, okay, you're not wrong. If you break down the overall cost of how many years it lasts, yeah, it comes out to even Stevens. It doesn't change the fact that I don't have $3,000 to replace all the batteries in my boat in one shot. I've got $600. I can do that all damn day, but I can't do $3,000 to replace all of them with the lithiums that I want. And that was the point that I was trying to make. It's not that they're outrageously expensive. That's just a lot of coin to throw on batteries in one shot when the AGMs work great for me. And the benefit I get is it's not there yet. I'm not in dire need of it. So I saw the Dakota thing. I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? Eventually that price will make it a lot better. There you go, Andrew. Ionic 125 will run everything, same with the Miller Tech. Look no further. The man knows what he's talking about. He works at the right place. And then, yeah, Mark, lithium batteries are too expensive for me. That's kind of where I'm at right now. They're still, for what I found that I want to buy, there's still 2x the cost, actually 3x or 4x of my Duracell AGMs. And I love my AGMs. There's nothing wrong with it. And that benefit I get from switching to lithium is not significant enough for me to justify dropping that kind of coin all in one shot. So that's why I haven't done it yet. Nothing wrong with it. I know what money I have and where I want to spend it. I can't justify that yet. It's too much at one time. Okay, anyway. So let's go back to techniques because we were starting to talk about that a little bit and I didn't get to. Wait. I'm going to do this one more thing. If anybody is interested, we still have some apparel and it's still all closeout pricing on our site. So let me grab the link to that. We do have a Shopify. Let's see, we have some hats left. We have a ton of decals. We have a bunch of t-shirts, although limited sizes on it, unfortunately, so I do apologize for that. But I want to do the next order of apparel. I got to clear all this out first before I can go ahead and do that. So if anybody's interested, there's the storefront. I dropped it in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. I deleted it because I misclicked because I was going too damn fast, 'cause that's what happens. Let's try that pin message. There we go. And again, everything's still like closeout pricing. So my t-shirts, I'm literally losing money on these shirts, but I'm just trying to clear them out and recoup as much of that as I can so that we can go. And now I know not to do that color combo because apparently nobody liked it. So, but I want to do this. I want to do my own sun shirt. So if you're interested, grab that. Go to the link, buy whatever you can if you're interested. Greatly appreciate you if you do. We'll get it shipped out pronto. Okay, techniques. So we were talking about it a little bit already. I want to expand on that further. Let's go back through the top fives. And I am curious, if anybody hasn't shared their thoughts on that yet and you want to, by all means, share your thoughts on what your like top 5 go-tos are for this time of the year, where they're definitively kind of moved, right? They're no longer locked in on that shallow bite from that pre-spawn to spawn to post-spawn. All of a sudden they scattered. Where the hell did they go? Numero uno, bottom of contact. And more often than not, it's going to be a Texas rig. And I'm going to start with the Flippin' Delight from Beast Coast Fishing. I'm going to quickly follow that with just a Striking Rage Craw. And from there, I usually bounce around to like other slightly different profiles and kind of play with it from there. And I'll also play around with weights. So I have 4 jig rods set up, which are all phenomenal Texas rig rods. So I will take 1 jig. And if I'm fishing like a typical kettle pond, I'm going to throw an Arky head stocks, jack of all trades. If I know I can get into much cleaner, clearer areas where I don't have to worry about vegetation, then I'm going to throw in a football jig. But otherwise, I'm going to go Arky head. My other 3 jig rods become Texas rig rods. One of them is a really light jig rod setup, so that usually becomes my weightless Texas rig fluke. The other 2, I go 3/8 and a ½ ounce. And I will start with the exact same kind of baits. Depending upon what I see from there, then and only then will I either change color on one first, or I'll like drastically change profile on something, whether I'm going up or down in size. But I'll start with what I think is kind of the go-to, right? I'll start with just a standard green pumpkin or like the pumpkin gill from Beast Coast on their Flippin' Delight. Have a good night, Cast North. And that will be my starting point. Now, I'll do the same thing, but just slightly like 3/8 and then slightly heavier at ½ ounce. And there's 2 schools of thought to that, but I'll elaborate on that a little bit better for that next kind of main topic of this discussion. That's my number 1. Bottom contact. Texas rig primarily, closely behind that jig. My number 2 is I'm going to go something like really, really finesse. And I'm only saying this over the jerkbait because I've done this for a lot longer. I'm going to go a weightless Texas rig soft body bait in the sense of either a fluke or a Senko. Used to be a Senko for the longest time. Now I do flukes. I can get up into vegetation. I can work it either really, really slow or really erratic. It gives me a entire water column presentation, and wherever it is in the water column, I can get it to kind of stay there for an extended period of time. It's still sinking the whole freaking time, but it's really, really slow rate of fall. So I can kind of keep it in that, wherever I think that strike zone is, a lot better. And I can work through shallow water, again, either like stupidly slow or insanely aggressive. I can do a ton of things with just a weightless Texas rig fluke. And that's why that's my go-to, my number 2. Number 3, it's like 3A and 3B. And it's only changed a little bit because of recent success. It's going to be 3A is a jerkbait, and then 3B is a swim bait with a swim jig. Jerkbait because depending upon how they're relating to everything out in the middle, especially early morning, we tend to find that a lot of them are in the middle. They're suspended. They're kind of relating to nothing. And depending upon what the weather does, more often than not anyway, they tend to kind of shift down a little bit. Or even vice versa. You know, like they'll start shallow in the morning, sun comes up, they kind of come back. Or sorry, if it gets cloudy, they'll come up out of it a little bit. They won't be in the bottom, tucked down as tight as much. So I like to have a jerkbait to throw over the top, or a swim jig with a swim bait combo to swim right over their heads, or get up in that thicker vegetation, whether it's really shallow or it's way out deeper and they're like in some thick stuff. But I know I can present that moving bait presentation to them effectively and efficiently because efficiently and effectively, right? It's a moving bait. I'm constantly keeping it on the go. I'll work it kind of like a jackhammer, you know, quick twitch, real fast, slow down, pop it, a little pause, and continue. But I can get through all that stuff effectively because I'm not getting hung up on anything, but then also efficiently because I'm just covering water. And then probably immediately behind those for my number 5. See, I really got to think about that. I would say jackhammer. Yeah, jackhammer. Bladed jig. That has to be my number 5. It's just a bigger louder presentation for a moving bait, you can cover a ton of water effectively. Not to say that there aren't a ton of other things that are highly effective. Man, you could throw in a crankbait in there, buzzbait, whopper plopper, frog. Oh my God. Did I say it yet? Spinnerbait. Shaky head can be like deadly good this time of the year. Dude, the list can go on. And it'll all be phenomenal in any given case and scenario. I'm just going with my top 5 are. And they're great because it covers everything. The one thing I don't truly have in there is some form of top water, but for me that's okay. I don't do it often enough that I have that kind of level of confidence in it anymore that I'm like I have to have it in there all the time. I would say though that would be my number 6. It's just outside of the top 5. That if I'm gonna throw top water, I like the whopper plopper. It's fun. It works. It's highly effective. I prefer a buzzbait myself, especially because I think more people throw a plopper now than they do a buzzbait. So it's same damn thing really at the end of the day. I know I'm being very, very simple with that, but top water makes a lot of noise, constantly on the move. It's what it is. So, but I still prefer a buzzbait because I don't think that many people throw it. And I throw one that's a little unique. So there's that. So that's my top 5 for my techniques I'm going to go for this early summer bite as we move into the summer and deeper summer pattern. And a lot of that's, to be really specific, that's all largemouth. Flip the script. Now we're oh my God. Okay. 5A is, sorry, I just saw, I got to put it up there because Jerry put it. I didn't think about it because I threw the hell out of it this weekend and I didn't get a single bite on it, and that bothered me. But prior to that, like every other year before, it's been phenomenal. So what did I say for my 5? Jackhammer, that's my 5A. My 5B, Carolina rig. Carolina rig is stupid good at this time of the year. And that carry it all the way into the fall. You can pick up a Carolina rig and throw it every friggin' weekend. You're probably going to catch fish more often than not. The 2 bodies of water that we fished this weekend specifically, you just cannot effectively work a Carolina rig through that stuff. That bottom comp is just not friendly to it. It just doesn't want to work. But thank you for bringing that up, Jerry. Appreciate you. Smallmouth. Oh boy. Drop shot is probably my number 1. Jerkbait. It's in the mix. I had to rethink this. Drop shot is definitely number 1. Tube is number 2. Ned rig is number 3. Something moving is going to be my number 4. But that can vary greatly, entirely depending upon the conditions. So number 4, I'm going to keep very generic to, say, moving bait. It could be an Okashira screwhead jig with a little swim bait on the back. It could just be a ball jig with a swim bait. It could be a spinner bait. Friggin' every once in a while I get them good on a jackhammer. Oh, my God. Could be a spy bait, crankbait. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, for me, when it comes to smallmouth, I lump all those moving baits in together because it's almost always like one or the other, things like that. And then, last but not least, on that whole list for smallmouth, I would say topwater. And that does not speak against topwater for not being effective. That's for my confidence. Again, this is my personal top 5 for it. But we're talking about like this early summer pattern for smallmouth, go-to techniques. I'm going on the bottom first, but it's going to be a mix of stuff that like gets down to the bottom fast and stays on the bottom, and stuff that takes a really, really long time to get down there, which is where something like a tube and a Ned rig really come into play. But then I can, use both of those effectively for covering water. And in all fairness, my number 2 has to be a 2A and 2B because the open water sniper jig, I don't know why this didn't come to mind immediately, has been so damn good and consistent that's very quickly becoming my number 1. Drop shot is still king for me. But that open water sniper, my God, I tell you, that thing has been killing it for us. Largemouth and smallmouth. But my brain is so focused on these kettle ponds that you haven't got a prayer in hell of throwing that sniper in any of these places that are covered in all that soft, mushy vegetation that literally covers the whole body of water. That's why it didn't come to mind immediately. So as far as techniques go, early summer into that summer pattern, that's all of it. Like those are my top 5s across the boards with some A's and B's mixed in there. There's so many other things you could do though, and a lot of it's condition dependent. And that's probably the thing we should talk about. I can tell you right now, with all this rain that we've had going on, a heavier Texas rig and a jerkbait and a jackhammer. Like those 3 things have been key. They've more often than not, and the thing that helps with this is I've been able to see them at active target as they've been reacting to things. I've been trying to throw, I tried throwing a lighter weight in my Texas rig, and it didn't really pan out. And granted, they weren't really biting the Texas rig that good later in the morning. The way they were reacting to it with a heavier weight was much more like, okay, I'm on the cusp of the right answer here. And I did get a couple of fish, don't get me wrong. I crushed them on a jerkbait and a 3/8 ounce weighted Texas rig on Sunday. So, like, that was clearly the answer. We crushed it with a 3/8 on Saturday, too. So, for things like that, I tend to like to go a little bit heavier. I lost my train of thought. I was looking at the chat. I'm sorry. Sorry, looking through the chat. Oh boy. Aha, there it is. Alec. When you throw a Carolina rig, is there a benefit to throwing it with an offset hook instead of a flipping hook? You know, I don't know, because I've done both. And up until 2 years ago, I always did it with an extra wide gap hook. And the thing that bothered me about that was I was just constantly tearing baits off. So I got the idea one day, it just clicked. I was like, why the hell am I not throwing this with a flipping hook? Like, it shouldn't matter, right? You can expose it just fine. The bait's going to last a heck of a lot longer. The only difference is that a flipping hook tends to be a much heavier gauge hook. Not always, but a lot of the ones I found tend to be a lot thicker. So, whereas an extra wide gap hook, you get a 3/0, that's a really, really thin gauge. And the hookup on those is phenomenal. So there's 2 points. As I'm thinking about this and speaking out loud, I can think of 2 reasons why you would want an EWG over a flipping hook. One is depending upon hookup ratio, right? If you're finding that you're having a harder time sticking those fish, I feel like an EWG might be better than a flipping hook, because those tend to have, like, from the last bend up to the point of the hook, a little bit longer and definitely a lot thinner. So I feel like you're going to get a lot better penetration, and it's going to stay in there better than most flipping hooks, at least the ones I've used. And I've used quite a few flipping hooks. Plus, with it being a smaller hook, lighter gauge, it's, obviously your Carolina rig is going to come slam down, and then your bait's going to slowly fall behind that. That fall rate is like everything, right? In a lot of instances. So that secondary fall rate from when the weight hits to the bait trailing behind it, with like a 2/0, 3/0, 4/0 extra wide gap hook, thinner gauge, like your typical EWG hook, that's probably going to fall a lot slower, depending upon what you're throwing for a trailer behind it. Versus if you say, like, what I really like doing is a 4/0 friggin' flipping hook on a striking rage craw, it's going to go hit and, like, it's going to fall down a lot faster. So you would lose that secondary fall behind it. That's, to me, the 2 instances on where you might want one over the other. Looking through the chat, making sure I didn't see anything else. Jerry, good job mentioning Ned Rig, bro. I did well on a Nico rig up there on the drops. Dude, Nico rig, Ned rig, Nico rig, both of them, killer. I got my PB on the Nico rig Senko. Still kind of bothered by that. I'm not. I got my PB. I don't care. I don't care what it came on. It's the only 7 I have. I'm grateful for it. But, oh my God, Ned rig for smallies is stupid good. Stupid good. Let's see. Oh, Anthony, I've gone back to offset round bends instead of EWGs. Yeah, no, I can see that being good too. I don't see why not. That wouldn't work. I prefer, I'd have to go back and look. Because the flipping hooks, I have a bunch of different ones, man. I have some from Mustad and Gamakatsu. I think I actually have some from BKK, but I could be wrong. And there's another one for the life of me, I can't remember. It could just be Gamakatsu and it's just a different model than the ones I have. The Hack Attack one, I have those hooks. I forget who the hell makes those. I can't remember. I buy them so infrequently. So usually when I buy a bunch, I don't go through them that fast. So I tend to just buy in bulk and wait like a year before I have to replace things like that. So I can't remember what brands they were. But I do have one that is definitely a thinner gauge than the rest. And it's a 3/0. So, it's kind of similar to like a thicker gauge EWG hook at that point. But it's nice because I'm not tearing off baits left, right, and center. It's great. Angler Zach, yes, I do have a video of all all of our PBs, both Andrew and I. My PB largemouth, his PB largemouth, every single one of our PB smallies every time we broke it, except for my very first one when it was 5 pounds back in, 2011? 2012? It's before I was even recording anything, so no video of that. But like everything else, all our PB smallies, all those are up on videos. PB, personal best. So I don't know. At this point, oh, look at that. Andrew just messaged me about batteries. I'm not going to read that. Can I read that number out loud, Andrew? Total for 125 for cranking and all electronics and 3 automatic 50s for the tow motor. That's still a lot of money. We're going to talk about electronics here in a second. I just want Andrew to tell me whether or not I can talk about that. I need to... Is it Sam's Club that I bought it last time? Whoa. Don't tell me it went up in price. It might make my decision on the next battery a hell of a lot easier. Is that it? Specs. Show me the specs. I think that's it. Group 31. Yeah. No, okay. No, yeah, it's still. All right. So I currently run 4 Duracell AGMs. They're Group 31s. The Duracell Platinum AGM. They're a marine and RV, so it's not quite like that. I might have the wrong one, but I know this is pretty much the price that I last paid. $215. I have 4 of them. I have 2 for all my electronics, and there you go. Andrew just posted it. And then 2 that I run for my trolling motor. I'm still only a 24-volt configuration. But on my Ghost, it's 97 pounds of thrust. It's fine. I've only run out of juice in a tournament scenario once, and that's really kind of what I feel is an accurate barometer of like, what do you really need out of your boat? If you're out fun fishing, you're probably just pushing it to the limit all the time anyway. But so that battery is $215. So I run 4 of them. It's $860 versus do they also the same thing? Well, no, then I could get one. I go to a 36 volt on my trolling motor and 1 lithium to run everything on my boat for $1,825. So essentially, for a little less than an extra $1,000, I can get batteries that'll last me 10 years, and trolling motor batteries that will last me probably 2 days before I even have to recharge them. Actually, at that point, probably even. No, the way I use them, probably 2 days. And 1 battery to cover all my electronics. Okay. See, now, all of a sudden, we're at a point where that's valuable. Like, that's an economic value right there. Oh, I can't. I'm trying to buy a boat this fall, damn it. Wait a minute. Did I just see something come in? I don't know. Anyway, I'm talking about batteries. There was a question someone asked that I wanted to elaborate on after I was done talking about techniques, and I wanted to talk about something else, and I think I was talking about it before I lost my train of thought. Going back through the chat. Bear with me. Bear with me. Where the hell? Oh, I did see this comment. Well, let's do that. I just saw Andrew's comment. Drop a dang like. Sean's doing twice the work. Thanks, man. So Mark, Northeast Bass Fishing, did ask, do you find the bass prefer the soft plastic jerkbait fluke in the summer over the hard jerkbait, or do you just prefer the hard jerkbait because you can get it deeper, +1 or +2? If I'm straight up open water fishing, I'm doing hard jerkbait. If I know I'm gonna fish an area where I want to get right over the top of stuff, but I'm fishing a little bit deeper, I'm going just hard jerkbait. I'm going Vision 110, just a 110. If I'm getting anywhere near vegetation or going shallow, I'm throwing a soft jerkbait, and that's it. I have tried fishing a soft jerkbait out in like deeper open water, and it's just, I haven't really found a scenario where I've had to like grind that out to make it work. You know what I mean? Like to figure out that was it. Because by the time like we go through the regular jerkbait and we get that down there and they just go ape over it. So we've never really had to like, okay, well, they're kind of reacting to it, but they're not really hitting it. So maybe we need to throw something along that same lines, but slower. So weightless Texas rig fluke. Haven't found that scenario yet. It's one of those things that now that we talk about it, I should probably force myself to kind of do that research just to have that in my back pocket. But then again, it's one of those that like, I think if I was out there and the situation presented itself that, yeah, all right, jerkbait, I'm going to do this, and I could see them on active target and they're following it, but they're not really committing to it, then I would be like, well, yeah, let's try the fluke, because that would be the next logical thing for me to try in that instance. But that hasn't happened yet. We've gotten them to either bite the jerkbait or we follow up with something entirely different and they just start smoking that. So that's why it's like hard for me to answer that. Jerry, hey, I'd like to mention that going back home to New Hampshire for 3 weeks and bringing one of my boats was great. I met so many nice people with each body of water we fished. Some of your laws up there that suck like a weed sticker. And Hunter couldn't take the boat out alone, unlike here in Florida, and line didn't matter up there. Yeah, the weed sticker for Maine is kind of a thorn in my side too, because it's $45. Plus it was $65 for a 1-year license, so $110 just to go fish in Maine for one day. I'm going back. Point still stands. Just to get in there for a day. It's not cheap. That weed sticker sucked. And don't get me started on too many New Hampshire's laws. I'm starting to. I just learned recently that, and unless multiple people that told me this are wrong, that Lee's Mills launch on the northwestern end of Lake Winnipesaukee is no longer a public access. It's technically still is, but it's resident only. Wasn't that public access for like literally anybody in the public for freaking decades? And out of the blue, just nope, F you. Nobody can touch it unless you're a town resident. Like how does that happen? How do we as New Hampshire citizens allow this shit to continue? That these towns just that places for decades were open to anybody to use. All of a sudden, no, sorry. Can only use if you're a town resident. You got to be in a different tax bracket, bro. It's not right. It is not right. And I'm thinking I need to get off my ass and start fighting that fight if nobody else is going to, because this is bullshit. And there's no other way to put it. It's just bullshit. And I'm sick and tired of what the state's becoming. We're just constantly losing access across the freaking board. It is fucking bullshit. It pisses me off when I hear about things like that. But anyway, back to fun stuff. Jerry, we smashed the smallies on Newfoundland with 65-pound braid. Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely. Believe you there. It's funny because, like, I've heard people ask me so many times, why are you throwing 15-pound straight fluoro on your jigs for smallies? I don't give a shit. They don't care. They're still going to eat it. And they eat it great. And we hammer them, and I know I can boat flip a 4-pound smallie if I want. I'm not going to worry about it. I can jack them up with it. I can fight them hard and keep them pinned. They, more often than not, they just don't care. The only time that lighter line seems to matter, for me at least, is like definitively into the summer pattern, and very rare instances in the winter where that really thinner line just helps the action on the bait or getting it down at a certain rate, like things like that. But it's like, it's not that often. I don't know. Thanks, Alec. Sean for governor 2024. Make lakes accessible again. You know, can I reverse dumbass Sununu's thing? And honestly, I'm literally only calling that. I'm not a politics guy. I'm only calling him that because that whole Wild Goose access site for Lake Sunapee, that for 27 years Fish and Game and other people, other groups were fighting for to make happen, and all those wealthy pricks that live out there part-time during the summer fought it and threw all their millions of dollars worth of it, friggin' lawyers' fees to fight it. And then one of the very first things dipshit Sununu does when he gets in office is he points to that and says, I am revoking this. We're done. It's been 27 years. Clearly, we're not going to get this resolved. So I am vetoing it and canceling everything. And just like that, 27 years of effort thrown out the window. By one guy. One of the first things he does when he gets in office. That's also bullshit. Like, how can one guy just do that all of a sudden? After all that time and effort. And I know Fish and Game fought forever, and they finally got one of, like, the final approvals. There's 3 major permits they had to get for that. And they just got the last one, like, 2 years before this. And then all those yuppies up there all of a sudden threw in this last-minute thing about, oh, you know what? It's not a good spot because of the traffic. You can't put it here. There's too much traffic. It's too busy. It's too fast of a road. And all of a sudden, like, that was their fight. And that was what was holding it up. And then Snooter just comes in, which I think he actually owns a house on that lake or owns land or something like that. The whole thing's fishy and bullshit. And I'm literally basing everything off of that one decision. I don't know anything else this guy's done. He's a prick because of that. And then there's this. I'm totally off topic here, but this is great. MD, total BS. Lake near me that's usually stocked is only open to town residents. That's the other thing. So apparently Fish and Game's stance on that is, well, because we stocked it for so long, this is like, it's ecosystem. So we need to maintain it. For bodies of water that were once previously open to the public that are no longer open to the public now. No. Stop. Period. Full stop. If it's not 110% completely open to the public with zero restrictions, I'm sorry, but no, then that body of water should not get anything from the state, because some portion of everybody's fishing license goes into making things like that happen. I don't want a penny of it going to a body of water that I can't access in any way, shape, or form. It's not right. It's a state law for state residents. Town residents should not benefit from things like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's my opinion on it. Bingo. Tourist trap state now getting stupid. Could not agree more. Ben Turner, I've been on Newfound for the last 2 weeks on vacation. The smallies are the best. Hell yeah, man. I love that lake. I need to get over there. Yeah. Mark, Northeast Bass Fishing, is echoing my sentiments. I have to get over to Newfound. It's been a minute. Just an FYI, if anybody goes out there, one, I'm not just saying this to like keep people off of it. It genuinely is not as good as it used to be. And there's a reason why I haven't been back there like hardly at all the last 3 years, because it's fishing terrible compared to what it's used to been. And I do know for a fact that the rock bass are starting to explode in there. Believe it or not, the very first time I caught a rock bass in there coincided with the exact time that place started dropping off a cliff for quality. Coincidence? I don't know. I'm going to guess no. Anthony, they got to stop spraying grass too. That crap is ruining our natural lakes. I understand invasive species, but herbicides destroy everything. People need to be more responsible. That I completely agree with. And it sucks too, like when you see bodies of water that used to be like I know we have a couple of spots that were not that great for years. And then they blew up because the milfoil blew up. And like starting 2 years after the explosion of milfoil, all of a sudden like that average catch size started going up and up and up every year. And it was phenomenal. And then as soon as they go in and they nuke it, like it kind of sucks because like all of that vegetation provides more cover for the bait fish, so the numbers of bait fish and the size of bait fish can grow, and subsequently having that added and better forage base for the bass can grow better too. There's more food to go around for them. They can gorge themselves without having a negative impact. Just makes for bigger fish. And so from that perspective, it sucks when you start seeing lakes that get treated. On the other hand, it would be nice if the state would get with like, oh geez, I don't know, every other freaking lake in this state and allow us to put in like man-made structure. Like we could put in our own brush piles and things like that to like, okay, you're going to come in and nuke all the vegetations in here. Let us put man-made structures. There's plenty of other states that allow that. The nearest one that I know of for sure is Connecticut. Like they actively allow that. You want to go make a little PVC little brush pile thing, throw it out there, you're allowed to. It'd be great. But we're not allowed to do that. You can't even place a freaking Christmas tree in the lake without getting fined for it here in New Hampshire. Joe, I don't know what in reference I was to, but yeah, F-bed fishing. Unless it's a giant. We make exceptions for giants. Mark, is there a largemouth in Newfound? Yes, there absolutely is. I am going completely off topic, but you know what? I'm all for it. But if you guys have any more questions about early summer fishing, happy to answer them. Mike, it only takes one to start complaining, then it snowballs. I had a similar situation on a ramp that was funded by fishing and hunting license fees. All right, well, there we go. Andrew, yes, him and I talk about this often. Stock pike and walleye in all lakes in New Hampshire. I am not saying that people should not consider the potential benefits of an explosive population growth of pike in certain glacial lakes in the state that may or may not be infested with certain other invasive species that nobody likes, such as, say, rock bass. Just thinking out loud. I don't know. I suppose you can do with that as you wish. Anyway, moving on. Stock Muskie and Winnie. Dude, that would be awesome. But yes, other than that, I agree with Andrew, Drain Winnie, and Jason Pave it. Jason Pave it. Pave it. That's my favorite thing about bad lakes. Oh my God. Strut Nut. I'm going to run for it just for that. Sean, when you become governor, I'd ask for a crapper at every boat ramp. Oh, you mean like Vermont? Literally every body of water in Vermont has a bathroom at the boat ramp. The most popular lake in the state, Winnipesaukee, majority of those ramps don't even have bathrooms at it. Meredith Bay doesn't. Center Harbor does, but good luck. They have like half a door on the public bathroom, and then the porta potties that are there, they never get cleaned. They're disgusting. Lee's Mills, I think last couple times I was there, they didn't have it. Alton Bay, I don't know. Then you go to other places, like the rest of them are private. Like it's sad. Then like you go to any other smaller body of water, it's rare you find one. I mean, it's rare that you find one. It's like, how do you not have that? I don't get it. There we go. Jeremy, any recommendations for deep diving crankbait reels? Looking at a Bantam MG, I don't think you can go any worse than that. I tell you what, for crankbaits and jerkbaits, I am going to buy a digital reel because they're light, you know, and it's even a little tickle of wind can definitely be problematic and disruptive to the fishing and the casting, that's for sure. So Andrew got one. He got a Corrado DC, and I almost bought one like a month before that, and he's been using it. I'm like, dude, I got to get that for jerkbaits and crankbaits, because it's like that. To me, that's an instance that something like that would prove its greatest value. I really, really need that. I want one, but I don't think you can go wrong with that, man. Anything along those lines, you're good. Jerry, sink structure, just don't want to get caught. I don't know what you're talking about. Mike, what species is more invasive than us? Absolutely nothing. If the boat ramp has a tree, I'm good. Northeast bass fishing, Mark again. I can go to tiny little Burr Pond in Vermont and they have a clean porta-john. Dude, that's the thing. Like, we've fished some insanely remote bodies of water in Vermont, and even those have porta potties. Arguably, in an area where, of all areas you wouldn't need one, it would be like this body of water we went to, where it's literally nothing but woods everywhere. And a place like that has a porta potty. Meredith Bay boat ramp, like the single most busiest traffic location for a boat ramp on all of Winnipesaukee. No bathroom at the ramp. Doesn't make sense. Trying to look. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. Kevin, I'm convinced someone is illegally killing the weeds on Lake X up here in Vermont. Dude, Andrew and I were talking about that. We were up there recently. I think you're right, because we were fishing a very specific stretch for the last 2 years, has kicked out donkey largemouth for us. Granted, it's a little bit early for that vegetation to look as good as we would have expected. It's gone. Like, gone. And that makes zero sense. It had been there in the same stretch, same conditions from spring into summer into late summer for 2021, 2020, 21, and 2022. Like, all 3 seasons. And we went there this year. It's gone. And they're not supposed to be spraying that there. They're not supposed to be doing anything. So I literally said that, dude, I think someone might be illegally dumping stuff out here. Because it's not like it's shallow, where they're using machines to go in and clear out water chestnuts and all that crap, whatever it is, lily pads and whatnot. It's deep. You can't get a machine down to that. So what else could they be doing? Unless someone's scuba diving out there and manually removing it. I don't know. Andrew, I've started a tiny paper city near a certain boat launch. I can't remember which one that was. That's great. Andrew, what's the best body of water in southern New Hampshire? Your opinion, lake and pond. X and Y. I'm not going to give that answer. That's for damn sure. I tell you what. No, I'm not going to give you a lake name. But to put this in perspective, who's texting me? My wife. My wife is texting me memes. Well, that escalated quickly. I will tell you this. In southwestern New Hampshire, between Milford to Keene, there's probably only 6 places that suck. I'm not lying or exaggerating or anything. I fished all of them, and I fished all of them multiple times. Probably only 5 or 6 of them like truly suck. All the rest of them are either pretty damn good or phenomenal. So odds are you fish any one of those spots out there, you hit a couple during the year, one of them you're going to hit, and you're going to be like, oh, goddamn, this is awesome. That's all I can say about that. Kevin, yep, shoreline that's been full for 10 years are gone, not just weed eaters. Yeah, dude, I'm with you. I 110% agree. I would not be the least bit surprised if some rich prick that lived out there went out and just started treating it himself. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. The only thing I would like to think is there a way you could, like, soil sample where the weeds would have been? I'm curious if you could do that. Because that, I mean, obviously that's the most telltale way. Food for thought. I'm going back to restock milfoil. I do. We were talking about that on the place. Wait, someone already been caught? Good. Dude, message me about that privately, Kevin, please. I want to hear about that. More importantly, I want to know what they're going to do about it. Obviously, there's nothing that can happen because the damage is already done, but what are they going to do to the person? Because, like, that should be severe. When you're doing something like that, it has to go through such a stringent application process to even have the right to do that, and someone got caught doing it illegally. Like, what are the ramifications and the potential repercussions to that person? That's what I want to know. But to your point here, I'm going to restock milfoil. We were fishing on Saturday with a specific body of water that they went and they chemically removed all the milfoil last year, which sucks. But some of it they missed. And, like, I saw it, and I pulled it up a little bit, looked at Andrew, was like, I tell you what, the moment I see a good patch of milfoil in here, I'm going to come in with my trolling motor, and I'm going to mow it all out. I'm just going to blow it all out across the lake. Redisperse all the seeds. We want it back. All right, I'll tell you what, it's 9:40. I still have a lot of work ahead of me, but, you know, on the plus side, it was a great night. I do wish Andrew was here, and he will be back. But in the meantime, I had a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody getting in on the chat and just taking part in the conversation. Hopefully, in the midst of all the rambling, I definitely got off topic way too many times, and I apologize for that. And I wasn't as coherent and structured as I normally am, and I apologize for that. I usually have Andrew to help, like, trade off here so I can collect my thoughts in between and keep the conversation going. I didn't have that break at any point here. I'll have to have an intermission next week. No, next week. Next week, I'll be at ICAST. So, I can tell you right now, I'm not doing the show Wednesday. I'm going to push it to Thursday night next week. And you can bank on that because my Wednesday, when I'm at ICAST, I've determined that it's just going to be a nightmare. There's no way I can potentially do this without hindering other opportunities I have to do down there. And primarily amongst that, I'm going to go hang out with Jerry, who's here in the chat, because he's going to be at ICAST too. So I'm going down for my company, but it's great because I'm going to be able to go down and talk to a few, key people at some of our sponsors like FXR Pro Fish. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that. So I'm going to be home on Thursday morning, Thursday noon, whatever. So we'll do the stream Thursday next week, not Wednesday, on Thursday. That's the plan. And Andrew, you said hi. I thought you said hi to yourself. I was like, what the hell? So we'll do it Thursday when we come back. If memory serves correct, we're going to have Dennis back on. We had him recently to talk about deep cranking. We're going to talk about gear next week. It's one of the questions we get a lot. There's actually a video I want to do because I haven't done it in like 3 years now. is like everything that we're using for gear. Like obviously we got sponsored by Douglas Rods and we have a ton of their stuff. So like I'd like to be able to elaborate on that. And obviously a lot as well as like how much we're enjoying it and how friggin' phenomenal the rods have been. But then like, you know, like why do I have one specific configuration? Like why is this my go-to jig rod and why is this like my second preferred jig rod? And you know, the whole 9 yards. So that's what we're going to cover next week, and then the week after that I have no idea. So that's the plan for next week. I just saw something for Jerry. Did I miss multiple things from Jerry or just the one? Jerry, and Roland we will do a live for Facebook. That'll be fun. Let's do it. All right. Z20, heading to Champlain to fish BFL Saturday. Good luck. Let me know how you do. Looking forward to it. I got a bunch of people I know, a bunch of my friends are going up to fish that. I'm fishing the BFL on the 29th. So I'll actually be up there on the 26th. So if anybody's up in Champlain around that weekend, they want to get together and hang out at night, just shoot the breeze. Whether you want to talk about what the lake's doing or not, entirely up to you. I'm an open book when it comes to these things. Not specifically about spots, but like other things. Yeah, dude, I'm all about like just talking it over, right? We do compete, but we're all friends at the end of the day. So I'm happy to talk about it. Before anybody goes, if you haven't done it yet, please drop a like on the stream. I would greatly appreciate it. Other than that, thank you all very much. Jerry, yes, 110%. We can do that. We'll stream a little bit Wednesday. We're at iCast. But I'm looking forward to that. I take off Monday. That's the plan. We'll see you guys on Thursday next week. I will have a new video up this Friday, the following Monday, live stream Thursday, new video the following Friday. It's going to be great. Thank you all very much for tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Everyone have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week.